The year is 1980, and Mount St. Helens in Washington state is about to blow its top. As this volcano erupts, releasing 50 billion cubic feet of ash into the air, scientists are frantically monitoring other volcanoes across the Pacific Northwest, worried that the eruption of Mount St. Helens could trigger a chain reaction and cause a bunch of other volcanoes to go off at the same time. Now, luckily, that didn't happen back in 1980, and it hasn't happened since. But some experts fear that this may be just a matter of time, and if it does happen, it could cause an eruption of epic biblical proportions. So today we're going to talk about why some experts think that the Pacific Northwest's volcanoes could all erupt at the same time, which volcanoes are most likely to do the erupting, and what a volcanic apocalypse in the Pacific Northwest would actually look like. Now, before we get started, let me just say this. I am not a volcanologist. This video is for entertainment purposes only. If you need actual information about volcanoes, please consult a qualified professional. So, the Pacific Northwest is home to over 100 volcanoes, including some of the most active volcanoes in the world like Mount St. Helens, Mount Hood, Crater Lake, and of course the big daddy of them all, Mount Rainier. Now, although these volcanoes can and have caused massive devastation in the past, we usually don't worry too much about them because they're pretty far away from where most people live. However, there's a small chance that the recent eruption of Mount Helens could cause a chain reaction that leads to a mass simultaneous eruption of all of the Cascade volcanoes. Now that may sound absolutely ridiculous. It would be kind of funny if it wasn't potentially the end of the world. So here's how it would work. You see, volcanoes usually erupt when magma from deep within the earth finds a way to break through the crust and escape. When magma escapes from a volcano, it doesn't just shoot up into the air like in the cartoons. It also radiates outward in all directions, relieving pressure on the magma chamber below. Well, when Mount St. Helens erupted earlier this year, the magma blast not only radiated outward in all directions from the volcano, but also downward, melting the rock layers below it. This process created an enormous cavity under the volcano that could potentially collapse in on itself. And if it did, all of the remaining magma in the Mount St. Helens magma chamber would be released all at once, creating an eruption that's even bigger than the one back in 1980. Now, this isn't really a concern with Mount St. Helens itself, because it's pretty much drained all of its magma after that huge eruption back in 1980. But that magma chamber is connected to the magma chambers of other volcanoes in the area via a giant magma plumbing system. And those volcanoes still have plenty of magma left in their chambers. If the cavity in the Mount St. Helens magma chamber collapses and unleashes all of the remaining magma in the connected plumbing system, we could see multiple volcanoes erupt at the same time. Some experts believe that the Mount St. Helens eruption was so violent that it very likely destabilized these magma chambers, and it could just be a matter of time before one of them gives way. Now, luckily, the likelihood of this happening is fairly low. Scientists think that it would take several large earthquakes in close succession to cause the magma chambers to become unstable and erupt. Luckily, we don't have any uncomfortably large fault lines running through the Pacific Northwest, so it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. Still, though, it is a possibility, and that's why scientists keep a close eye on all of the volcanoes in the area. But what would this hypothetical apocalyptic scenario actually look like? Well, it depends on which volcanoes erupt and how they erupt. Mount St. Helens, as we said before, is pretty much spent, so if it were to blow again, it wouldn't be very big. Mount Hood has the potential to be the most devastating of all the Pacific Northwest volcanoes because of how close it is to major population centers. Luckily, though, Mount Hood is pretty quiet and hasn't erupted in over 700 years. It would have to produce a massive eruption to reach the populated areas near Portland, Oregon. And even then, I don't think anyone living near Portland would be surprised enough to actually be caught off guard by such an eruption. They've been dealing with Mount St. Helens blowing its top since the late 1970s, but the big daddy of them all is Mount Rainier, and it's also the most dangerous. You see, unlike Mount St. Helens and Mount Hood, Mount Rainier is still very active. It's had several small eruptions in the last few hundred years, and it has the potential to cause catastrophic damage if it were to erupt while people were around. That's because Mount Rainier is located just 40 miles south of Seattle, Washington, in an area with over 1.6 million people. In fact, the town of Ashford, Washington, which sits at the base of the mountain, has had to deal with volcanic ash falling on it twice in the last 100 years. If Mount Rainier were to erupt during a large earthquake, the resulting pyroclastic flows and lahars could very easily reach the suburbs of Seattle, completely destroying everything in their path. An eruption of this magnitude would devastate the entire Puget Sound region, killing hundreds of thousands of people and causing billions of dollars in property damage. The good news is that although Mount Rainier is very active, it doesn't seem to be in any immediate danger of erupting. The last thing we really have to worry about is Mount St. Helens erupting again, melting the magma chamber below it and causing Mount Rainier to blow. In the meantime, we should keep an eye on Mount St. Helens. Back in 2004, the United States Geological Survey reported increased seismic activity in the area, leading many to believe that the magma chamber below Mount St. Helens was slowly filling back up. Fortunately, this turned out to be a false alarm. But until we know for sure that Mount St. Helens is not going to erupt again, we can't rule out the possibility that it could cause a chain reaction that ends our civilization. I'm just kidding. Even if Mount St. Helens erupted again and caused a chain reaction that ended our civilization, it wouldn't be that bad, because there's a supervolcano in Yellowstone National Park that would eventually erupt and destroy North America. I'm just kidding again. That won't happen. But it would be pretty cool if there was a supervolcano in Yellowstone National Park. I wonder if there is. Let me check. Well, wouldn't you know it? There's a supervolcano in Yellowstone National Park, and it doesn't look very happy. Oh dear, what are we going to do? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Maybe we'll all die, or maybe nothing will happen. I guess only time will tell. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. And thanks to my supporters for helping me make this video. Be sure to check out my social media to see my dumb posts and my beautiful face. And remember, if I ever upload a video that says the apocalypse is happening, don't click on it because it's just a prank, bro. Okay, class dismissed. Goodbye.